Hey guys, it's homework night here at my house, so I apologize if my kids run in and we start doing other stuff. But I wanted to go over the Gunpowder Empires with you guys, kind of put stuff together. Haha, you don't know this yet, but this is going to be an assignment and you have to watch my video and answer questions, but it's going to help you out. So there's a reason. All right, so looking at our gunpowder empires, these are all of the land empires in this time period, but we just want to focus on the Ottomans over here in the red. We want to focus on the Safavids here in Iran, and then we want to look at the Mughals over here in India. Okay, we'll come back to the other land empires later, but this is what we're going to look at. All right, so things to know about the Mughals. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep it short, not go too long. Okay, remember these are the guys that claim to be descendants from the Mongols, so they're like Mongol 2.0s, because their leader, Babur, is going to claim to be a descendant of the Mongols in order to legitimize his rule. Anytime we talk about a ruler legitimizing their rule, it's just basically what are they doing to make people follow them and to say this is why I should be the right ruler? That's all legitimizing their rule is. Either we're going to use lineage, like where your family came from, we're going to use religion, we're going to use art and architecture, that kind of stuff, okay? So when Babur takes over and sets up his dynasty that lasts for about 300 years or so, they're going to use gun carts, movable artillery, and cavalry tactics. Okay, so the fact that they're using guns, right, makes them a gunpowder empire. That's how they go and conquer people, because they have the technology to go beat those around them. Okay, so that's what helps them with their military. So like I said, make sure you know that. The person that we really need to focus on for the Mughals is Akbar. Okay, Akbar the Great. He is one of the greatest rulers of all time for the Mughals, and when we look at history in general, I mean, this guy is going to promote art and architecture. He is going to constantly try to expand the empire. He is going to end the religious tax on Hindus. He's going to promote religious tolerance, because remember, the Mughals are Muslim. And so the fact that they're in a country which is predominantly Hindu causes a lot of problems, okay? Because before they tended to be very exclusive and very divided. Muslims didn't get along well with the Hindus, particularly when they were under the control of the Delhi Sultanate, which was also Muslim. Okay, so now you can intermarry, and Akbar is promoting everyone to come together and to talk religion and philosophy and to do all of these great things. He also tries to create his own religion, which is a blend of a whole bunch of different religions together. It doesn't work out. Okay, so that's what kind of does him in. Okay, but this is the guy that was the best ruler of the Mughals. Okay, as far as social things are going, they were still practicing sati in India, right, which is where the wife had to go burn herself on the funeral pyre. He's going to get rid of that. Yay! Thank goodness. We're going to help get women out of seclusion. Women are going to be allowed to do more things. So we're going to see a lot of social promotion for women. Yay. The rulers after Akbar, not so great. They don't really do a whole lot of things. Eventually, the empire is going to get ruined by their successive rulers. They're not going to add territory. And this is when Europeans are going to come in, because most of your overseas traders are Europeans. They're wanting textiles. And a lot of this becomes very, very fashionable in Europe, which is going to lead to them having to start growing more cotton, which is going to eventually set the stage for imperialism in the 1800s, which is bad. Okay, as far as further rulers go, Shah Jahan is going to continue the policy of religious tolerance. Okay, your other rulers, like I said, they don't really do a whole lot of things. They invent polo, and like they really like to play polo and stuff, and do the things that fancy elitist ruler type people do. But this is when you get a lot of monumental architecture that comes out of this period. You have the Red Fort, you're going to get the Taj Mahal. Okay, so your later rulers were really good patrons of the arcs. Eventually, we're going to start alienating Hindus again. You start to see rebellions. You get new religions that pop up. And just the fact that we have weak rulers is going to lead to the end of the Ottomans. Okay. Mughals, not Ottomans, Mughals. So, too long didn't read version. Okay. These are the Mongol 2.0s. Know that Akbar the Great expanded the empire, promoted religious tolerance, and tried to make a new religion, which didn't work out. You had your government officials called zamindars that would go around and help with like taxation and construction, maintenance, that kind of things. Zamindars are the equivalent of tax farmers in the Ottoman Empire. And then you have Shah Jahan, who like to use architectural accomplishments to show off his power. Okay. So it's the too long didn't read version. Okay, so terms to know. So Babur was our founder. Know that they're using gunpowder to help establish their empire. Know Akbar the Great. Dini Alani, this is Akbar's religion that he made up. It didn't work. Okay. Hold on. Where's my menu? Hold on. Let's see how I get back to this. Okay. This is Shah Jahan's wife, who he builds the Taj Mahal for. I don't care that you know her name, but know that he built the Taj Mahal for his wife. But it's also an example of monumental architecture, and we'll look at a picture again in a second. Aurangzeb is the guy that kind of, according to John Green, ruins the Mughal Empire. He just was not one of the most effective leaders. And then we do get the development of Sikhism, which is a monotheistic religion that's going to pop up in India during this time, kind of like as an alternative to Hinduism and Islam. It's going to promote equality for everybody, including women. Yay. And it's one of the big things that causes a lot of problems and why people don't like it is because all gods and all religions are the same. And it's typically held to like one little region in India. Okay, so here's Akbar the Great. Huzzah. This is our tolerant Mughal ruler. Taj Mahal, our example of monumental architecture. Okay, what rulers would use to legitimize their power because the fact of, ooh, look what I built. I could mobilize all the resources and people to build this really fancy mosque for my dead wife, which is an example of Islamic architecture. Look how fabulous I am. All right. Real quick, let's move on to the Ottomans. Okay. So know that the Ottomans were nomadic Turkish people. They're coming in all over the place. They were part of the Abbasid Empire. And then, they kind of go start taking over everybody else. They are going to be led by Mehmed II, or Mehmed the Conqueror. This is him marching into Constantinople. Pretty much after he broke through the very, very tall, very, very thick city walls using his wonderful cannons. Okay, so there's an example of one of their, 26-foot bronze cannons that they used. And I don't care what kind of wall you have. You're getting bombarded by cannons like that. That's not going to last. This is what siege warfare is. So it was a 7-week battle. But they finally conquered Constantinople in 1453. Rename it Istanbul, which it still is today. Alrighty. One of the ways that the Ottomans were able to maintain their power and their legitimacy is going to be because of these guys. This is a horrible circle. I'm sorry. It's going to be because of the Janissaries. Okay. The Janissaries were Christian youth, remember, from like the age of 8 to 18 over in the Balkans area. And they were conscripted through the process called the devshirme, okay, which was the blood tax. And so once you were conscripted, you were educated, converted to Islam, and depending on what you did, either you could get yourself a really good government job or you became part of the military. This is the most important, efficient part of the Ottoman war machine. Like without the Janissaries, they would not have been able to accomplish as much as they have. These guys are controlling the gunpowder of said gunpowder empire. Okay, this is their super elite fighting corps. And this is kind of what they look like. Okay. They also gained a lot of political power. They were basically aristocracy. So there's a lot that comes with being a Janissary. So the Ottomans are also religiously tolerant. Didn't matter what you were. They do give preference to the people of the book, which were the leaders in commerce. Okay, so they are the ones that get to trade. They're protected by the Ottoman rulers. They don't have to pay the religious tax. We're going to have lots and lots and lots of monumental architecture. Okay, so lots of stuff going on with the Ottomans. Constantinople, pretty much, like I said, is going to be the head of everything. Ottomans are going to regulate commerce. They're going to write in Persian, then Arabic, then Turkic. So they have coffee houses where people can come talk. This is one of the most sophisticated empires of this time period. Unfortunately, everything is really, really going to decline later on. But at this point, Ottoman Empire is a solid place to live. Okay. They really start expanding until about the 1600s, thankfully, because of their Janissaries and their gunpowder. They are constantly fighting with the Safavids. So don't forget, one of their biggest conflicts was the Battle of Chaldiran, where the Safavids brought the knife to a gunfight, and they were going to be honorable and use swords and not guns, and the Ottomans, pretty much demolished them. So know kind of what's going on here, okay, between these two empires. Eventually, the empire falls because they refuse to modernize. When Europeans start coming in, they're using light infantry. The Ottomans are still using heavy cannons, and so they just get defeated militarily, and things go really, really bad for them. Pretty much after Suleiman, the magnificent onion hat, everything just goes down. Okay, so Too Long Didn't Read version by Rome. Hello, Ottomans. Okay, because they're pretty much in the same place. It was Rome, Byzantine, Ottomans, all in that era. Okay, so they're the longest empire. Okay, these guys, like I said, pretty much cover everything that we need to know. They have some unique government systems, and I'm going to talk about those here in a little bit. Like I said, they replaced the Byzantine Empire, and this is the only time period we really need to focus on them, because after this, Europe kind of takes over and they're not worth anything. Okay, so here's Mehmed II, or Mehmed the Conqueror. Okay, this is the guy that took over Constantinople in 1453. Suleiman the Magnificent, the Lawgiver, okay, with his wonderful onion hat. Okay, it's the greatest of all the Ottoman sultans. This is the high point of their empire. Okay, Osman was the founder. Okay, Constantinople fell in 1453. The Bombard are their cannons over here. Woohoo! The Hagia Sophia, I will show y'all. That was the mosque, the church originally built by Constantine that gets converted to a mosque. Okay, so the fact that they're taking this Christian church and converting it to a mosque, and then later it becomes a museum, is showing how they're adopting what came before them, making it their own, and using it to legitimize their rule. Okay, Devshirme is our blood tax, where we get the little Christian boys and turn them into janissaries, which are our court. Miniatures are their art style. Millets are the little autonomous religious communities within the Ottoman Empire that are pretty much given reign to kind of do what they need to. And gosh, after we watch the video on tax farming, I hope you know what it is. Okay, this is auctioning off the right to collect taxes for the empire. So it's a huge source of revenue for the Ottomans. And then, they can like push off the wonderful business of taxing and collecting taxes to other people. Okay, so here's an example of miniatures, and this is showing them doing the Devshirme and conscription, like you can see me point at my screen while I'm pointing. This is the Mosque of Suleiman, which is one of their big monumental architecture pieces. And then this is the Hagia Sophia. So it was originally just the dome church, and then they added the 4 minarets. Okay, because remember, the Ottomans are Muslim. Okay, Safavids. We're going to go real quick over these guys, okay? We don't need to spend a whole lot of time here. Know that they are 12er Shiism, okay, which is a different branch of Shiism. Every other Islamic religion, the Mughals and the Ottomans, are Sunnis, and they don't get along because, going way back to Muhammad, but the fact that the Safavids are claiming that they are the true leaders of Islam, and that's how they're legitimizing their rule, is through their religion. The Ottomans are claiming that they're the true leaders of all Muslims, so they just don't get along. Okay. Ismail is the founder. He's going to forcibly convert everybody, and they're constantly fighting with the Ottomans. The Ottomans are the big brother. Safavids are the little brother. And they just don't get along, and they fight all the time, and the Safavids are constantly losing. Okay. So this is Ismail, the founder. Shah Abbas was the greatest of the Safavid rulers. Okay, so these are the 2 names we need to know. Like I said, so founder, this is their religion, where they believe that there were the 11 rulers that came before or after Muhammad, and we're waiting for the 12th. And so this is how they're legitimizing their rule. Remember, the Hezbollah is the elite military group that's loyal to Ismail. But after the Battle of Chaldiran, when they lose, they're like, peace out. We're not going to do this for you anymore. And the Nakish Al-Jahan Square, I actually have a picture of that. This is this. Okay, so this was built by the rulers so that people could come and have like this area for everyone. It's like this big public square, and so it's actually a World Heritage Site. So this is their monumental architecture. Okay, so fantastic. What does all this even mean for y'all? Okay, here's the too long didn't read part. If you haven't paid any attention to anything else I've talked about in this video, this is the part you need to listen to. Okay, so what we're looking at here, when we look at our land empires, these are the things we need to know. Okay, how the heck are these people legitimizing and consolidating their rule? Okay, know that they're using visual displays of political power. That's any kind of planning of their cities. So the square, monumental architecture. We have the mosques, the Hagia Sophia. You have the Taj Mahal. This helps legitimize and support their rule. Okay. Rulers are also going to use religion to legitimize their rule. So they have all these religious ideas. Okay. Again, no Shiism with the Safavids. Okay. And this is what they do to prove to people that God says that I'm supposed to be in charge. I am using religion. This is how it works. Okay. All of these empires are also going to have to make sure that their governments are well run. Okay. So one of the things that they do is they're going to recruit and use bureaucratic elites, and they're going to develop military professionals. These are the janissaries within the Ottoman Empire. Okay, this is done through the Devshirme. And it becomes more and more common among rulers who want to maintain centralized control over the people that they rule over and over their resources. Okay. So, on the topic of militaries, you're going to have this new developing relationship between taking over empires and expanding or building up an empire, which is imperialism, and military technology. So, in order for these empires to expand, they have to start using new technology. So, they take the gunpowder that was developed in China, okay, and they're going to use that in cannons, new rifles, weapons. They're going to train up their armies in new tactics. That way, they can expand and defend what they have. Now, do you have obstacles to building an empire? Absolutely. Okay. So eventually they are going to start competing with each other over trade routes. It doesn't really work out well for them because Europeans are going to come in. You have rivalries, right? The Ottomans and the Safavids. You're going to have local resistance. You have people eventually start pushing back against these empires. And we'll really see this with the Ottomans later on, but they're all going to have challenges that they have to overcome to them trying to consolidate their power and then when they expand. So keep in mind, like I said, guys, all of these empires, they're going to use art and architecture as ways of promoting themselves and trying to convince the people and show why they're supposed to be in charge. Okay. Religion is super important to this. Know that they're all gunpowder empires. Don't get bogged down in the specifics of like, oh, which person ruled which empire. We need to start looking at big picture stuff. Okay, so I wanted to go over all the little pieces, which is what we've been doing in class. And now we got to focus out and start looking at big picture stuff. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, whatever. Let's just keep those. Hopefully that helps you guys. And hopefully you do really well on these questions. Look, it's only a 20-minute video. 22 minutes. Okay. I kept it short for y'all. So hopefully, like I said, this really helps with the Ottoman Empire, guys. And the Safavids. And the Mughals.